your savings with gold.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:03. The skies right now trying to clear up after the yesterday. Just a lot of rain here in mid-Missouri. We'll get official numbers from the National Weather Service a little bit later. They work in a 6-hour block in terms of rainfall. 36 right now in Columbia. It's not going to get much warmer, folks. It's going to be cold today. Our high 39. Clear tonight with a low near 28, but we will finally dry out. You will see some snow flurries. No accumulation a little bit later this morning. Good morning, everyone, and here are some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 6 o'clock hour. The Missouri Senate has rejected a request from the House to go to a conference committee to further negotiate on a congressional redistricting map. The House will gavel in this morning at 10 in Jefferson City. They'll decide what to do next, if anything. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia that it's not too late for the conference committee to do something.
Right now, our local election authorities are working on those April elections, so they wouldn't really be able to input changes in the map right now. We lock down our system where changes can't be made right next to an election so that we're not creating problems for a current election that we have.
Missouri is the only state in the nation where a new U.S. House map has not been enacted or approved by state lawmakers. The House did vote this week 115-19 to send the issue back to a conference committee for further negotiations. Hallsville State Representative Cherie Tolson-Reich says Boone County should stay in the 4th Congressional District, which is west central Missouri. She also doesn't like the fact that the map divides the Mizzou campus in half. And she also pointed out in the interview Marshfield is divided into 2, if not 3 districts as well. The Senate map moves Boone, Cooper, and Montauk counties to the 3rd Congressional District. You can hear the full interview with Secretary Ashcroft from Wake Up Columbia, 939theeagle.com. Now, speaking of Secretary Ashcroft, he did announce that 506 candidates have now filed for the August primary election. The filing period closing this week on Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And he also is thanking all of the candidates who have filed. He says, quote, "It is inspiring to see the number of people willing to give of themselves to become a part of the process." End of quote from Secretary Ashcroft. Meantime, another big story at the Capitol, the governor announcing the COVID crisis is over in Missouri and that the state will shift to an endemic phase starting tomorrow morning. Governor Parson made Wednesday's announcement in Jefferson City, telling Capitol reporters that average daily COVID cases have declined by more than 98%. He says hospitalizations are down 86% since mid-January's Omicron peak.
COVID-19 transmission is at the lowest level we have seen since March the 23rd, 2020, the very beginning.
That's Governor Mike Parson. The State Department of Health and Senior Services website says more than 3.9 million Missourians have initiated COVID vaccination. That is about 64%. More sound from the governor, more audio from him coming up at the bottom of the hour. Both Republican auditor candidates have confirmed to speak at next Friday's Boone County Lincoln Days banquet in Columbia. Again, next Friday. I said at the bottom of the hour at 5:30. It's tomorrow, and forgive me, it is next Friday. Tomorrow evening, next week's program. Next Friday evening's program will begin at 6:30 at the Courtyard by Marriott. A lot of other big names are on that list of speakers that are going to be speaking at the event. A lot of state lawmakers. We'll have more names on that for you coming up in our 6:30 report. And you can expect delays today and next Monday and Tuesday on Stadium Boulevard near the Columbia Mall. This is weather permitting. They should be able to get this in today despite the flurries. The State Department of Transportation says crews will be repairing a concrete island on Stadium today from 9 a.m. until 3. Now, there will be signs in place to guide you through the work zone. You're being urged to slow down for the crews. We'll have a picture up on our website here a little bit later this morning. MoDOT has sent me a picture, and the way I can best describe where this island is, it is near there's a Wendy's off to one side, there's a Culver's off to the other, and also the gas stations are catty corner the Drury Inn as well, to give you some idea where this island is. But traffic will be impacted, and there will be delays, so be prepared for that. They'll be starting that work, forgive me, at about 8:30 this morning. Our news is brought to you live by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean for all of your cooling needs, heating needs as well. Log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. Turning our attention now to sports, there will be a young man from Columbia Rockbridge High School who is going to be playing in the Final Four at the NCAA Final Four, and he plays for the Kansas Jayhawks, folks, but he is an outstanding player. You'll see him number 3, DeJuan Harris Jr.
Still a local kid, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of the angle here. I know a lot of people don't like the Kansas Jayhawks, but I got to tell you, this guy is really a fine player, Branden, outstanding.
Let me fact-check you, Hauswirth. Nobody likes the Kansas Jayhawks.
Certainly in our area, but yes, DeJuan, what a tremendous player he has been. Looked up some of his records that he had at Rockbridge High School. 25-3, guided Rockbridge to the 2018-19 Class 5 state championship. They were 25-3 that year. He averaged that year 11 points a game in 5 rebounds, had 17 points in the state title game. And while he played for Coach Scanlon at Rockbridge Bruins were 97-15. He finished with 1,100 career points, school's career leader in assists and steals as well. What a player. Number 3, DeJuan Harris. You'll certainly see him over the weekend in the Final Four. Our news time, 6:08. All right, thanks so much, Kevin. We appreciate you. Our weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind. 37 degrees. Traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Just again, a very quick reminder about that work that'll be going on Stadium Boulevard near Columbia Mall. They'll be out there about 8:30. The work will start around 9 to give you some idea. That's a concrete island on Stadium, and it will be impacting traffic in that area. So slow down when you see those crews. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Thanks to our balanced approach and common sense, we believe the need for COVID-19 crisis response has come to an end. The COVID-19 crisis is over here in the state of Missouri.
So, Governor, yesterday he's run a good, balanced approach. They left it up to local folks. Listen, and it didn't work out so well for us, especially in Boone County. But he left it up to the locals. You decide what you want. I can't tell you how many times I've heard over the past years, how come Governor Mike Parson hasn't lifted these orders when we had all these orders in effect? There was never a statewide order.
Right.
There just never was. Appreciated the governor's comments there yesterday in Jefferson City. As a matter of fact, Brian Hauswirth was in Jefferson City yesterday. So here's my big takeaway. First of all, I didn't know we were still in the emergency response, if I'm being honest. I had no idea. I've been going about and I've been living my life for the past 2 years, and I haven't had COVID, by the way.
Better knock on wood.
Which is good, yes, because I had it, Branden. It was rough. It was rough, and for some people it was mild symptoms. Boy, it hit certain people different ways.
I may have had it and just don't know it. I could have been asymptomatic.
Absolutely.
I still swear I may have had it.
I still giggle at the image of you coming back from vacation and the whole rest of the Wake Up Columbia crew being quarantined, and you just kind of sitting there with like a motley crew of people they threw together to get the show done that morning. That is still funny to me.
So really, what is to me this isn't getting in your way. It really, from what I understand, this has to do with how counties and the state's reporting stuff. It's not getting in my way.
Not really. I mean, in a nutshell here, basically the governor has declared, and this is mainly symbolic too, let's be honest. It's primarily symbolic, but it's very important. It will shift to what we call the endemic phase tomorrow. And again, he says it's going to continue to circulate at times in community. It will be endemic like many other diseases. They're going to, basically, the surveillance priority will change from monitoring the case numbers to monitoring disease severity. And again, I look quite a bit. I do encourage people to look at it because you get a pretty good idea. It's called mostopscovid.com, and that's the site I use, and I link to it a lot, Branden, as you know, on our website. These numbers have stayed pretty steady. The governor referenced them, but basically 57% of Missourians have completed vaccination, about 3.4 million, so almost 3.5 million.
It's just not getting in your way, and I still love it because a lot of the national news outlets, they're still, seriously, they're still trying to scare people. And people are still falling for it. Yesterday, MSNBC's Mehdi Hassani's talking to White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein. And just listen, this is my take. The little twist here.
Is it not a scandal, Jared, when several hundred Americans are still being killed by COVID every day?
When several hundred Americans are still being killed by COVID every day, the usage of that word, being killed. And I bring that up because, like locally, when I see people driving in their cars by themselves and they're wearing a mask, or they're outside walking at Stevens Lake Park and they're in a mask. And listen, you want to wear a mask, that's fine. It's old news in my opinion. But these people, what they do is they pay attention to these national news outlets, the big three, and then maybe USA Today and MSNBC, and they scare people to death. And they're scared. And you see it here in town all the time. People still out in their masks for whatever reason. I think because they have people afraid. Last night, Stephanie Browning was on KOMU 8 with Emily Spain. Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting line of question. By the way, Emily Spain of KOMU Channel 8, she does a great feature called MVPEM for Emily MVP, and she highlights
she does.
And I love, because that's one of the things we try to do here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle is feature local people just really doing cool things. She does a great job with that.
I agree.
She was talking to Stephanie Browning, the health czar in Boone County yesterday, and what Stephanie Browning said yesterday was beautiful.
What?
If she would have said it 2 years ago.
Well, I think that is probably a decision everyone will make for themselves.
It's about dang time.
That's a beautiful statement. If you would have said that 2 years ago, that was in response to a question from KOMU's Emily Spain. It's like, is the pandemic over? And Stephanie Browning, the context there is, well, that's for people to decide. Beautiful statement. Why didn't we have that mindset a couple of years ago, man? Unbelievable.
Well, we did.
Smart people did.
Yeah, lots of us did.
Hey, speaking of smart people, there's seriously a big event coming up next Feel Good Friday. So we have two big Feel Good Fridays in front of us. Governor Mike Parson, I would like to think, and maybe Hauswirth, you can fact check me on this. I would like to think that Governor Mike Parson yesterday in making his announcement about different handling of the COVID response on a statewide platform, I would like to think he specifically enacted it tomorrow in honor of Wake Up Columbia's Feel Good Friday. You might want to, I think he did it for us. And
I'll
to
have
honor.
to check. I'll
yeah,
have to check. Sure.
If you can check with the governor on that, that's just my take.
Sure.
And then the next Feel Good Friday, we have a big event, and this is happening right where we live.
We do so next Friday, starting at 5:30, is the annual Boone County Lincoln Days Banquet. And it's right next door to the radio station at the Courtyard by Marriott, so we can just, walk over. But there's, I think 17 or 18 confirmed, big-time names in politics that are going to be at this event. And Branden, Rathert, and I will be at this event. So you can come hang out with us and have a good meal and listen to some of Missouri's best.
It's a great opportunity to get involved, because I'm always a big fan. Even just going to these things and seeing what people are saying and being with a whole bunch of other smart people and seeing some of these people who are your elected servants and people who want to be your elected servants. These are great opportunities to go and, frankly, hang out with a bunch of like-minded people. And if you are not like-minded and you're a frustrated independent voter, a frustrated Democrat voter, and you're like, these things aren't working, that mindset has, I might go check this out just out of curiosity. We would love to have you. And there's going to be a first there. I don't think this has happened in Missouri yet.
Well, exactly. And your angle on that, and then I also have something else I think is very important about that. But you point out that it is the first time, Branden, that it's a number of these congressional candidates that are running in the 4th District will be there. And I don't have every name right in front of me right now. Forgive me, because I've been focusing on the auditor race. But I think that is huge. But I think the other thing that's really interesting and such an important position in Jefferson City is both auditor candidates on the Republican side will be there, and that is Scott Fitzpatrick and David Gregory. That is such an important race. Nicole Galloway has been the state auditor, as everyone knows, since 2015. She ran for governor, it's been almost 2 years ago now, and she will not seek re-election this year. So the Democrats are going to have one candidate. He's a former state representative, Alan Green, and he is from Florissant, so he will be the Democratic nominee. But this Fitzpatrick-Gregory race, this is fascinating because they both served in the General Assembly together about the same time, close, and they're both very similar in terms of policy. They'll have, I'm sure, some differences, but it's the first chance that I'm aware of that, at least in mid-Missouri, they're both going to be there where people have an opportunity to hear from them.
And congressional candidates, as far as I know, congressional candidates, Sarah Walsh, Taylor Burks, Bill Irwin, Rick Bratton, all going to be in the same room that night. I don't think that's happened yet, but 93.9 The Eagle is going to be there, and we would love for you to join us. I think the best thing to do is just search Boone County Lincoln Days.
Well, the link to the event is posted on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, as well as the link to purchase your ticket for the event.
As a matter of fact, I might bug Tony Lupo this morning. He's involved with that stuff. Also happens to be, and I don't know the exact title, climatologist, scientific atmosphere.
Smart guy.
Smart guy, yeah. And so I'm wondering, man, like, what's going on with these crazy fluctuations in the weather? 70s last week. It's 37 right now, maybe some snow. And he said, here's what's going on, Branden. It's spring. Okay.
Now, I have heard rumors that at the Boone County Lincoln Days event next Friday, there's going to be a merch table, and they're going to have hats that say, "Don't blame me, I voted for Trump."
Wow.
So it'll be a good event. If this is something like that you have never done before, I hope that you can join us. And listen, we're involved, but we're not, just so you know, we're not like making any money off of it. Or this is just Boone County Lincoln Days event. This isn't an Eagle event. And I feel like it's important to tell you that, like, we're not encouraging to get it because we're not making any kind of money off this or anything. Coming up this morning, people still, Will Smith yesterday, this stuff with the Oscar, with the Academy saying, yeah, we might do something here. That's a direct result of politics.
They're not going to do anything. Let's be honest.
I think it's, here's how politics are involved. They realize, because we're seeing on MSNBC and CNN, they know the ship is sinking. They see the iceberg, and they're trying real hard to veer to the right, and it ain't working. And I think part of the bigger picture, people, the Academy's, the Hollywood elites, I think is the phrase that everybody likes to use. The Academy is going, and everybody collectively that's on that real progressive side saying, man, we need to back off, and we need to start holding our own accountable. Maybe we start with Will Smith because we can't escape it.
I think that they're going to do just enough to say that they tried and to save face, but nothing is ultimately going to happen.
And you're probably right. That's Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden Rathert. Stephanie Bell has the day off. Brian Hauswirth is here. Another thing that we're looking at, ranked choice voting.
I don't understand it at all.
Man, I'm telling you, I consider Hannah a pretty smart person, and I feel better in knowing if she doesn't have a handle on it. And I've talked to Stephanie Bell, who's one of the smartest political people I've ever known, especially when it comes to Missouri politics. We get it, but I think we still need a good explanation. Scott Charton is going to be joining us 6:35, so I think this is something, hopefully, that you'll be able to check out. Join us at 6:35. Maybe somebody you know that typically doesn't listen to the Eagle. This is important to hear. He's here at 6:35 on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. You can also watch on our YouTube channel. Simply search 93.9 The Eagle, and you'll be able to get some behind-the-scenes stuff on the show this morning. Coming up, 6:25, Daily D.C. Rundown. Man, I wonder what Washington, D.C. was like yesterday, because I think somebody went into the White House and said, hey, Joe,
Moving forward with Branden Rathert and Wake Up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
20 further proceedings are postponed.
Jesus Christ, these people.
For what?
Oh, hot mic. Rep. Pete DeFazio in Washington, D.C. yesterday. He's a Dem from Oregon. He wasn't getting his way, so the response from that mindset.
Jesus Christ, these people.
For what?
Jesus Christ, these people and their common sense and stuff like that. He was upset with how a vote was going. He didn't get away, and that's his best response. Jesus Christ, these people. And that gets us into today's daily D.C. rundown on 93.9 The Eagle. Also in D.C., somebody woke Joe Biden up yesterday in the White House and said, Joe, have you seen these gas prices? And oh, yeah. So apparently today there could be an announcement that could maybe be a little bit of relief. Too little, too late. Biden preparing to order the release of up to 1 million barrels of oil per day from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve. The interesting thing about this, as the Associated Press puts it, because we hear a lot of people, a lot of the progressives, and we see them on TV every night, the president's not responsible for the gas prices. He can't control them. He can't do this. I always say, whoever is in charge, you got to take credit for the good and bad just by virtue of you being in charge, and I don't care who the president is, but I love the wording here. Check this out from the Associated Press. Remember, the president can't control energy prices. I'm quoting the Associated Press here. According to two people familiar with the decision in a bid to control energy prices. So now he can control. He had nothing to do with it before when they were skyrocketing. Now that he might have a chance to lower them so you and I are paying less at the pump, now he can control it. See what I'm saying? We're drawing a line from point A to point E. By the way, Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign, did you hear about this? DNC have agreed to pay over $100,000 to settle a Federal Election Commission investigation into whether they violated campaign finance law by misreporting spending on research. This goes back to the infamous Steele dossier that everybody said was crap. The response from the Clinton campaign and the DNC, here's what they said. They said, well, the payments were described accurately. We didn't do anything wrong, but here's some money anyway. Let's just try to bury this in the news.
Not suspicious at all.
Right, here you go. Coming up, ranked choice voting. How will this work for us in Missouri? Scott Charton with Better Elections joins us coming up at 6:35.
With warmer weather, pests become very active. In Missouri, there are two types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. As the Russian military offensive in Ukraine enters its 6th week, Ukraine's President Zelensky is again asking allies for more help.
They are creating sieges of our cities and keeping and holding hostages of hundreds of thousands of people in these cities without water and food.
President Zelensky with a translator there addressing Australia's parliament on a video call. A body found in Nevada is confirmed to be an 18-year-old woman kidnapped from a Walmart parking lot.
Deputies near Reno say the body of a woman found in a remote part of the state this week is that of Naomi Irion. Deputies say they got a tip Tuesday about where to find her body. Prosecutors have charged 41-year-old Troy Driver with first-degree kidnapping.
Fox's Carmen Roberts. The U.S. men's soccer team qualifies for the World Cup for the first time since 2014. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 6:31. Good morning, everyone. And it is 36 degrees. We're expecting a high today of around 39. We are expecting some snow flurries today. Nothing accumulating. Finally, we'll start to see clearing skies in the afternoon into this evening. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. Missouri's governor says the COVID crisis is over in the Show Me State and that the state will be shifting to an endemic phase starting tomorrow morning. Governor Parson making the announcement during a State House press conference in Jefferson City.
The vast majority of Missourians have received protection from the virus either through vaccination or past infection. Thanks to our balanced approach and common sense, we believe the need for COVID-19 crisis response has come to an end.
Governor says Missouri's approach moving forward will allow state and local health officials to closely monitor community levels of COVID. Meantime, the Missouri Senate and the House are still at an impasse this morning over congressional redistricting, the Senate rejecting the House's request to send the issue to a conference committee for further negotiations to redraw the map. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft is blaming a lot of this on the federal government. He says the census numbers should have been in Jefferson City by December 2020. The numbers didn't arrive until September 2021. Others point out there are Republican supermajorities in both chambers. Bottom line, no agreement yet. The Senate map moves most of Boone, all of Cooper-Montauk counties to the 3rd Congressional District. Missouri's Republican-led House proposing a rival constitutional amendment that would block ranked choice voting, lawmakers giving the ballot measure initial approval on Wednesday, and a bill that would ban texting while driving has been heard in a Missouri House committee. The bill's sponsor is State Representative Jeff Porter, who is from mid-Missouri's Montgomery City. News is brought to you this hour by the folks at AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:33. Turning our attention now to sports. We'll start with Mizzou baseball. Interesting game yesterday, and they were able to somehow get it in, even with the weather. But Mizzou beating Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville 12-2. Mizzou drawing 16 walks in this game. That's incredible. 16 walks in the game, and Mizzou ends up winning it by a score of 12-2. A couple wins in a row. Mizzou looking very impressive in baseball. Our sports is brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. You can apply now for a loan on your dream home. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. Traffic check by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or to post your job opening today. Our time right now is 6:34. Again, just a reminder that there will be work going on Stadium Boulevard, very close to Columbia Mall today. They're going to be working in a concrete island. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on that island itself. They'll be out there today, not tomorrow, back again Monday and Tuesday from 9 to 3. Best description I can give you folks from the picture MoDOT has sent me. Wendy's is off to one side. There's a Culver's off to the other. And Drury Inn is in that area to give you some idea where this island is. But it will be tying up traffic, so avoid the area. Or if you have to go through there today, make sure you give yourself some time and slow down for the work crews. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
Ranked choice voting is another voting method which allows voters to rank their candidates in order of preference. In a ranked choice voting election, a candidate needs to earn more than half of the votes to win. All first choices are counted, and if a candidate has a majority, then they win, just like in other elections. If not, the candidate with the fewest votes is eliminated, and voters who pick that candidate as number one will have their votes counted.
Clear as mud? You got that? Ranked choice voting? I don't get it. I want to bring in somebody, because this would eventually affect how we vote, and I want to bring in Scott Charton to talk about how this would affect how you vote. Scott Charton, Better Elections, joining us this morning here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Brian Hauswirth, Hannah, the producer. My name is Branden. Good to meet you, by the way. Welcome in if you're newish to the show. Stephanie Bell has the day off. Scott, thanks for being here. I got to tell you, I'm a 51-year-old white guy, and I don't like any kind of change to anything I do in life. Like, I have a schedule. I get up in the morning, and I come here, and then I leave, and then I go do this, and then sometimes I go to the gym. But I have a schedule. I don't like any change. Ranked choice voting, and I don't understand it very well, so I want to give you an opportunity to explain it to us like we're 2 years old. I just don't like the idea on it on face value. Don't like the idea. Please explain it to us like we're 2 years old, and I'm being serious.
Well, good morning to you as well, Branden. I'll tell you, I also am an old guy, and I have my schedule. But one thing I like is freedom when I can find it. You like freedom, don't you?
Oh,
We all
you're
like
good,
freedom.
Scott. You're good. You're good.
I mean, well, the law in Missouri right now limits your freedom to choose any primary candidate you want. The current rules are set up to serve politicians and parties and special interests. They're not set up to serve you. So the Better Elections Amendment empowers you to vote in an open primary in August, starting in 2024, for the candidates you want, regardless of party. And then the top 4 finishers go on to a November instant runoff. And in an instant runoff, or as you call it, ranked choice voting, this means that the top final 4 candidates can be ranked on the ballot from the first choice to your last choice, or just your top choice. But Branden, if you are a voter who likes to vote for a certain party, okay, it might be Libertarian, it might be Republican, it might be Constitution Party, you can still do that with a ranked choice voting system. What the ranked choice voting system does is give you a chance to look at the candidates. And with ranked choice voting, the idea is they'd really like, if they can't be your top choice, they'd like to be your second choice. And that means they have to go out and speak to issues for everybody. I mean, it sounds like it's so easy to say, I want every vote, right? I'm a candidate. But not every candidate campaigns for every vote. They ignore voters. If you want to be everybody at least their second choice, you're going to be out there talking to every voter and talking about issues that matter to them. Now, you want me, I don't need to talk to you like a 2-year-old because you're smarter than that, but
no, you probably do, Scott. Yeah, and I'm not kidding. I'm not even trying to be funny, but I want to mention this. So as I'm hearing you say it, and I'm listening, and I'm trying to have an open mind here, it sounds to me like you're talking about 2 different things. You're talking about ranked choice and open primaries. Those are 2 very different things, Scott. And I'm a fan, by the way, and my friends get mad at me when I say we should have open primaries. I don't like the idea that you can only vote in this party. I think, yeah, you should go and vote for whoever you think your best candidate is, but that's very different than ranked choice voting from what I'm hearing.
No, it's all in the Better Elections Amendment, and that's why it's important, because you have an open primary under the Better Elections Amendment, and you can vote for any candidate regardless of party if you like a certain person for the office. But importantly, the top 4 finishers in the primary go on it, and they become the 4 you choose from. Now, you don't have to choose anybody, and nobody asks you to choose anybody you really aren't for. You could just vote for your top choice in ranked choice voting. You need not rank your choices. But if you choose to rank your choices, you can rank them from 1 to 4. Now, how does an instant runoff election work? This is a new concept in Missouri, but it's not a new concept. Ranked choice voting has been around for over a century. In an instant runoff or a ranked choice election, voters are able to rank the candidates in order of choice, first choice, second choice, and so on. When the votes are counted, if a candidate has an actual majority of first choices, and by majority, I mean 50% plus 1. Right now, people can be elected to office with a plurality of the votes. They might be elected with 35% of the vote or 30% of the vote. The idea is that a majority should elect our candidates.
Scott Charton with Better Elections is joining us here, and I don't mean to interrupt. I have a lot of questions, and I got to tell you, as I'm listening to you, and Hannah will fact check me on this. I can be slow on the uptake sometimes, and I got to tell you, the way you're explaining it does not sound appetizing as a voter. So let's do this. We've got a very crowded, let's say, GOP Senate primary, okay? And until recent polling yesterday, new polling out yesterday shows Vicky Hartzler in the lead. It's consistent. We've seen Schmidt and Hartzler leading. But this very crowded GOP primary, people are worried Eric Greitens will split the vote so much that he will go to the general, and then he's going to lose in the general. Can you explain to me again, like I'm 2 years old, how would, if we had ranked choice voting for our 2022 U.S. Senate race?
And we don't. By the way, this is only effective in 2024.
Right. But I'm just trying to make this a real life application, though, Scott. That's what I'm looking for, to make it simple for somebody to understand how, as an example. That's all I'm looking for.
Sure. Let's not talk about this current slate because it wouldn't be effective for this slate. It's only effective in 2024. However, you go into the polls, and the primary, that's the point of talking about the open primary, Branden, that would have already been winnowed out if these were all on one ballot. And you'd only have the top 4 candidates. Now, if any of those Senate candidates make the cut or make it to the top 4, emerge from the primary, what the ranked choice voting allows you to do, if you have a favorite among the candidates and you really aren't inclined to vote for anybody else or to rank your choices, but in the case of let's say you had 3 Republicans who make the cut on the final 4 ballot, you might like some things about each of them, but maybe there's something that you wouldn't vote for them under any circumstance for whatever reason. You don't even have to include that person on your ranked choice ballot. That's the point here.
Okay, so let me, and again, I'm not trying to interrupt. I've just got limited time, and I'm really trying to make this as simple as possible for somebody listening. So in effect, let's say this, and by the way, there's more than 4 candidates, but I think everybody keeps talking the big 4, Schmidt, Hartzler, Greitens, maybe Long in there, McCloskey.
But this only allows it. It's important to keep in mind the open primary will produce 4 finalists,
right?
And so those 4 will be on the ballot in an instant runoff election. You have the 4 candidates. When the votes are counted, if one candidate has a majority, 50% plus 1, they went out right, just like today. But if no candidate gets a majority of first choices, the candidate with the fewest votes of those 4 drops out. They're eliminated. This happens instantly in the tabulation. And voters who rank that candidate first have their vote instantly go to their second choice. And then you see, does anyone have 50% plus 1? Because that's what we're trying to achieve, is they're elected by an actual majority. That process continues until a candidate is elected with an actual majority of the vote.
All right, Scott Charton, I got about 2 minutes here. It almost sounds like a game show to me, and that's my initial take. And I'm listening, and a couple of texts, 874-9390. Bill says, if the right-left paradigm scam loses its stranglehold on liberty, then ranked choice would make sense. And Sandy, good callback. We've got a mayoral candidate, Scott, Tanya Heath, and I said in our Columbia mayoral race, I've said I'm going to vote for Randy Minshew, and I got to hand it to Tanya Heath. She asked if we would make her our second choice. I've never been asked that before. So
it's not relevant though. First of all,
I know, Scott. Scott, I'm running out of time. I know it's not relative. I'm kidding around. Brian has a question for you.
Yeah, thank you Scott. I appreciate you joining us on the program and outlining this. My question is on I tell you, there's a lot of detailed information for people. It's called betterelectionsmo.org. You can find some information here, but I need to check on one thing. Is this on the August ballot or November, or are you trying to get it on the ballot right now? Just to clarify, I know it wouldn't take effect till 2024, but when would it be on the ballot?
We are gathering signatures now to get on the ballot. The deadline is May the 8th to submit signatures, Brian. And we hope to be on the November ballot, but that is subject to where the governor sets the election date. We hope to be on the November ballot. This would only affect elections in 2024. And just to be clear for our discussion, this is only for statewide offices, for U.S. Senate, for Congress, and for the legislature. It doesn't affect the presidential race if the voters approve it, and it doesn't affect county and lower offices. So the Columbia mayor's race wouldn't be covered by this unless local voters decided this. We also have election security in this, and it's important to talk about that. We require a verified paper trail for your ballot from the moment you vote till it's counted. We also require a special election if there's a vacancy, rather than have politicians make appointments.
All right, Scott Charton, we could sit here and chat all day. I've admired your work over the years. as it is right now, and again, I am coming at this with an open mind, but I think right now I echo the sentiments of Justin, who says they got a lot of splaining to do on ranked choice. I
do want you to look at our, if you would, invite the listeners, as Brian said, check out our website, and we're going to have for you on there an election simulator where you can actually do some exercises on this and see how it works.
Scott Charton,
it is simple and easy.
Better election. Hey, seriously, man, thanks for getting up early with us, and thanks for trying to distill it down for us, okay?
Of course, and I'm glad to do it. Again, it doesn't affect 2022, but it would be for the 2024 elections, and it's a great proposal.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you,
Charton
Scott.
on Ranked Choice. Everybody clear on that? Seriously, Hannah. Really? Is that brain fog that I'm not getting my head around this or not liking it? Is it just me?
It's a little confusing.
All right. Coming up, did you hear what happened? Chris Rock did his first stand-up comedy show last night. How were fans?
That wasn't Monday or Sunday,
right? Since the Oscars happened, he did his first comedy show last night. People were talking to fans outside of the show last night. What did they have to say about that? We'll feature that coming up at 6:53. And there's a local downtown landmark in Columbia. It's going to be going away. Everybody sees this in downtown. It's been there just about since I was born. It's going away. What is it? That's coming up 6:53 here on
An eye on the nation, an eagle eye on mid-Missouri. Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. 93.9 The Eagle.
I was like, how gross is this? This is just the wrong message, you know? Like, you assault somebody, you get escorted out the building, and that's it, you know?
Not if you're a Hollywood elite. Wanda Sykes, she was on the Ellen DeGeneres show yesterday. I thought her show was canceled because she was mean to people and she was bullying. And it's not so much that she was mean to her staff as that she was a fraud. She was always, preaching this, be nice, be friendly. And apparently people have come out and said, yeah, she's full of crap. I didn't know her show was still on the air.
I'm pretty sure it's in its final season.
Could be. And I thought it was interesting. Wanda Sykes, one of the co-hostesses of the Oscars the other night. By the way, I love Wanda Sykes. Maybe even later this morning, I have some audio. I interviewed her years ago, and she was talking about the story about how she came out to her mom, which is interesting. Don't care about your sexuality. Don't care who you like. But the interesting dynamic that Wanda Sykes and having to explain to her old Southern Baptist mom that she was a lesbian. Fascinating story. Maybe I could do that coming up at 7:50. Maybe I should wait till all the kids are in school. It's not that bad. It was just an interesting story.
Is it? I mean, why would it be inappropriate?
Because some people are, they get a little touchy when you start talking about those kinds of things in front of their kids. That's why. And you'll understand one day when you become a parent. As a matter of fact, John Potter, he's this guy's Como Concerned Parents. He was one of these folks. He's a great story. This guy has affected change, which is something we're a big fan of here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Affect change. What can we do besides complaining?
Unless it's changing how we vote. Then you're not on board, right?
Man, okay, so it's not just me. Thank you for the text at 874-9390. People right now, and I have an open mind for a couple of minutes on ranked choice voting. Two things. I don't understand it. And from what I do understand, it doesn't sound good at all. Based on the text we're getting, it's the same thing. So it's not just me. But this John Potter guy, man, he's just I don't want to use a word, he's just a regular Joe Schmo like us, right? And he saw what was happening with his kids in the Columbia Public School District. He got involved, started going to school board meetings, started going to events, started affecting change. Now this guy is spending time in Jefferson City. He's in the Capitol because people are like, look, this guy's making a difference locally. He's going to be joining us at 7:10 because Eric Schmidt, our Attorney General, Senate candidate, enacted a new portal yesterday, which is parents, and by the way, they're right on this. Communication, I'm just talking specifically in the Columbia Public School District. Communication is so poor on so many levels. It's been poor to the public. It's been poor to media. Teachers are showing up at some of these events for candidates like Adam Burks and Andrea Lisenby and saying, hey, not only, Branden, has communication been bad with you, and not only do they use all the, they try to talk circles around you, communication poor to the public, communication so poor, Attorney General's office has gone after him several times. Teachers are now showing up, and they're kind of doing it quietly because they're worried about backlash from the local teachers union. Teachers, thank goodness for these teachers that have been able to be brave enough to come out locally and say, listen, communication is poor to us also. So it's not just news outlets that are complaining. It's not just parents that are complaining. Dr. Brian Yearwood, by the way, kudos to him. He came to the last Friday's Columbia Pachyderm meeting. Very engaging guy, very gifted storyteller. They even had a parent there. Now, she's a persistent, she's a parent who's been very persistent about wanting communications. But he was there. He answered questions. But communication is absolutely poor. The Attorney General's office is proper in doing this. I don't have a kid in the school district, though. I want to chat with John Potter. Parent reaction coming up at 7:10 here on 93.9 The Eagle. Reaction to Chris Rock's first comedic show following the Oscars from fans. This was fans last night after his show in Boston.
Chris Rock didn't say anything about it. He already pre-writ what he was going to do over a week ago.
Some folks say, what he didn't say much. He didn't address it a whole lot. He just basically said, kind of an interesting weekend.
He wants to pump near-record gas prices down. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
President Biden is weighing a massive release of up to 180 million barrels from the nation's strategic oil reserves over several months.
That has oil prices down almost 6%.
The president continues to face calls from Republicans seeking more domestic oil production. Meanwhile, the International Energy Agency has called for an emergency meeting Friday to discuss the world's oil supply.
Fox's Sean Langell. That's after the U.S. and others banned Russian oil as Russian forces keep bombing areas near two Ukrainian cities it claimed it would pull back from. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky told Australia's parliament Russia keeps
holding hostages of hundreds of thousands of people in these cities without water and food.
Storms, including tornadoes, have damaged parts of Mississippi and Tennessee, taking down power lines. There are nearly 200,000 outages in several southern states hit. There's an update on 2016 election controversy. Fox's Evan Brown has it live.
Now, Dave, the Federal Election Commission is finding both the Hillary Clinton 2016 campaign and the Democratic National Committee for lying about payment for the infamous dossier compiled on then-candidate Donald Trump by a former British spy named Christopher Steele. The fine is only $8,000 for the Clinton campaign, but more than $100,000 for the DNC. The commission says both parties mislabeled money spent on the dossier, claiming it was for legal services from the law firm Perkins Coie. The lawyers then took that money and hired researchers Fusion GPS, which bought the dossier from Steele. Dave?
Evan Chris Rock was back on stage last night in Boston, only briefly telling the audience he's still kind of processing what happened at the Oscars when Will Smith slapped him on stage.
So he said, I just want to do a show, and it was understandable.
He didn't entertain the BS. He did his set that he'd been planning for months, and he was a class act.
America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:03 here in Columbia. We are expecting a cold temperature throughout the day today. Our temperature will not get much warmer than we are right now in the 30s. The good news is we will finally clear off in terms of getting the rain moved off to our east right now. Lots of rain here in mid-Missouri. We'll get some rain totals from the National Weather Service a little bit later this morning. They work in 6-hour blocks in terms of calculations of that. There are flurries falling right now in parts of our listening area. 36 our current temperature here in Columbia. It's 34 in Jefferson City. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. The Missouri House is advancing a bill to defund Planned Parenthood and put more restrictions on abortions. The GOP-led House gave the measure initial approval in a voice vote on Tuesday. The bill, the latest attempt by Republican lawmakers to block any public funding for Planned Parenthood. Meantime, the Missouri Senate and House are still in an impasse this morning over congressional redistricting. The Senate rejecting the House's request to send the issue to a conference committee for further negotiations to redraw the map. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft tells Wake Up Columbia the federal government is partly to blame. He says that they should have provided the census numbers by December 2020. Those numbers didn't come until September 2021.
And anyone that looks at this process and doesn't realize that we were put on the wrong foot at the very beginning by the federal government's failure to do what they're supposed to do is not being fair.
Now, the Senate map moves most of Boone and all of Cooper and Montauk counties to east central Missouri's 3rd congressional district. It divides the Mizzou campus in half. There is opposition to that, and it comes from both parties, Democrats and Republicans, upset about that. Hauswirth State Representative Cherie Tolson-Reich says Boone County should not be divided. She wants it to stay in west central Missouri's 4th district. You can hear the full interview with Secretary Ashcroft. It is up on our website. It is 939theeagle.com. Meantime, Missouri's governor has announced that the COVID crisis is over in the Show Me state.
The vast majority of Missourians have received protection from the virus either through vaccination or past infection. Thanks to our balanced approach and common sense, we believe the need for COVID-19 crisis response has come to an end.
It's Governor Mike Parson. He spoke to Capitol reporters yesterday. He announced that vaccines, testing, resources, and treatments are now readily available for all Missourians. So this is the endemic phase. He says that means surveillance priority will change from monitoring case numbers to monitoring disease severity. The State Department of Health, DHSS, says 3.9 million Missourians have initiated COVID vaccination. That is about 64%. Both Republican auditor candidates have confirmed to speak at next Friday's Boone County Lincoln Days banquet in Columbia. They are incumbent Scott Fitzpatrick and State Representative David Gregory. Several U.S. Senate candidates will be there as well. Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler will be there along with Mark McCloskey and Dave Sims. Those are the confirmed folks right now. If they add any more, they will announce that at a later date. Next Friday's program begins at 6:30 p.m. Courtyard by Marriott. A state representative from Columbia will be running unopposed in the November election. He is State Representative David Tyson Smith. He will not have an opponent. He is thanking voters for their trust in him. Representative Smith represents Columbia in the legislature. His district itself is going to change, but he will be running unopposed. And all Schnucks locations across the state of Missouri, including the 4 here in mid-Missouri, will be hosting a personal care item drive coming up on Saturday with the local food pantry. In this case, it is the Food Bank of Central Missouri. They're going to be collecting a number of hygiene and toiletry items coming up on Saturday morning. What they say they are in most need of right now: shampoo and conditioner, deodorant, razors and shaving cream, as well as soaps, and also disposable diapers. You can drop those off coming up on Saturday at all of the Schnucks locations here in Columbia and Jefferson City. There's one in Jefferson City on Missouri Boulevard, and that will take place from 10 until 2. Our news is brought to you this morning by the folks at the Candy Factory. They're in downtown Columbia. You can find them online, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. Turning our attention now to sports. Mizzou, pretty impressive in their baseball game yesterday. They were able to get the game in against SIUE, Southern Illinois University, at Edwardsville. 12-2, Mizzou wins the game. 16 walks. Mizzou drawing very patient at the plate. That's incredible, and they win it by a score of 12-2. Mizzou looking very impressive in baseball. One other quick note. He is a local player, outstanding player. If you follow the high school ranks, DeJuan Harris here in Columbia, Rockbridge product. He's going to be heading to the Final Four, plays for the Kansas Jayhawks and Bill Self. What a season he has had for KU. Hard to believe he is a sophomore, but I looked up his record over the weekend watching him on television. He had more than 1,100 career points, ended his career as Rockbridge leader in assists and steals. And when he was at Rockbridge, 97 and 15. Played for Jim Scanlon, who it seems like has been coaching forever there at Rockbridge High School. Fantastic coach. And congratulations to DeJuan Harris and his family. He'll be playing in the Final Four. Our sports is brought to you by Witt Print Shop. Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. Our news time, 7:08. All right, Kevin, thank you this morning, as always, for your great work. Our weather is brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. You can go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind, 36 degrees. And our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or to post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. There will be some work coming up a little bit later this morning on the 9 o'clock hour on Stadium Boulevard. That is near Columbia Mall. Crews are going to be repairing a concrete island near the Wendy's. Looking at that location from their picture, Wendy's in the Culver's area there. There will be some signs to guide you in place, but you can expect delays today and also on Monday and Tuesday. They'll have to go back out there again and complete that work. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
There's just not a lot of transparency at the school district level right now. And so this is an effort to, hey, if you're seeing something, send it to our office and really try to empower parents. We've set up a portal for parents to communicate with our office and saying, hey, we saw this at the school.
Attorney General Eric Schmidt chatting with our friends at ABC 17 yesterday. He's enacted kind of like a portal where parents can go, because parents, not just here in mid-Missouri, but really all across the state, all across the country, had a hard time getting straight answers from school board members, from school officials. And when you have kids and you're not getting straight answers on your kids, believe me, there is very few things in life that are as frustrating is that, not being able to get clear communications from your kids. I agree with Attorney General Eric Schmidt there, and I base that on my experience with the Columbia Public School District. I base that on my experience going and chatting with these parents. I base that on my experience that October school board meeting when the school board president, Helen Wade, just ended the meeting. And by the way, Dr. Yearwood was asked about this Friday at the Columbia Pachyderm meeting. He was, and I applaud him for showing up, and he didn't answer the question. It was, well, that's not my domain. I work for the school board. He didn't answer the question. I thought that was kind of a chicken way out.
But Branden, if I may, in his defense, technically what he said was they are his boss, and they are. Yeah. They are. So to be fair here, it would have been it's hard for him to critique what the board does, but you're right. They did. There were several questions about that, and he did answer it. The biggest takeaway that I had from the questions from the audience is they weren't so much criticisms of him. They were they were individual situations that were way down into the weeds for us, but the people that parents that wanted to go in and be able to go into the schools and stuff. Now, he cited FERPA, but he said he would look into it, but it was just one after the other that were coming up to him. But it is hard for any superintendent to critique the board, and that really is it, more or less what he said was that's really up to the voters. That's what basically, I don't want to put words in his mouth. That's kind of what he said.
I think, and man, journalist, always being fair, man. Brian Hauswirth.
Well, context is important.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
And we appreciate that about you, and that's why you're part of 93.9 The Eagle. That's why you're part of Wake Up Columbia. Stephanie has the day off. There's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert. Something we can do for you this morning, 874-9390. And I want to get some reaction from a parent, though, because it's my point of view. Somebody in the media, and in my opinion, the poor communications that we've had, what I hear from the teachers. You have teachers showing up to some of these campaign events on behalf of school board members. By the way, did you get mailers from Adam Burks and Andrea Lisenby? They're like hand-signed notes, like postcards, which I thought was kind of a class act on the part of Andrea Lisenby and Adam Burks, who I would vote for, by the way, in the school board race. This is coming up. What's today? Thursday, last day of March. We're just days out from this thing. I hope you know where you are on this stuff. But I want to highlight some comments from Todd Fuller. He is with the Missouri State Teachers Association, because I have my point of view. You know, somebody in the media, chatting with parents, seeing what's been happening at these school board meetings, all of these things over the past at least good year and a half. but I want to get the viewpoint of a parent. But first, his comments, Todd Fuller chatting with our news partners at ABC 17 yesterday regarding Eric Schmidt. He's got this portal. You go onto a website and you can say, hey, man, this stuff is happening. And I know this about Eric Schmidt and his office. Man, they will get back to you. And as a parent, now I don't have a kid in the Columbia Public School District, but as a parent, whoops. Did I do that on video? I showed my address.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I'm sitting here going, surely he's going to cover it up. And you didn't.
How do we get rid of that? Or I can start talking about election stuff and Facebook will get rid of it for me. Whoa. Anyhow, Todd Fuller, Missouri State Teachers Association. But I want to get a parent's point of view. But first, these comments. Todd Fuller, Missouri State Teachers Association.
I think transparency already exists in a school district if somebody wants to seek it out.
Now, we know what we think about most of these teachers associations and unions. We know how they campaigned in Virginia on the failed gubernatorial candidacy for that guy there. I want to bring in John Potter. John Potter, this guy's a remarkable story, by the way. Guy's like a truck driver, starts seeing what's happening in school. He starts getting involved, man. He starts showing up to meetings.
And maybe one of these days you'll start saying his last name right on the first try.
I keep saying John Potter, and I don't know why. It's John Porter. It's a real simple name, JJ.
It's not Porter. It's Potter.
Potter. It's a real simple thing, JJ. Did you see Bruce Willis is diving out of acting, which I didn't know he was still acting anyway, but he's got aphasia.
Yeah.
And so yesterday, I start reading, like, what is aphasia? And I'm going, oh, my God, I think I have this.
Did you go down the WebMD rabbit hole?
I did.
Come on, man.
I'm having memory issues and all this stuff, and it's all been happening since I've quit drinking. It's like my memory and all that stuff is just getting worse. And so I got onto WebMD, and I think I've got aphasia.
It could just be that you're getting to be that age.
I'm getting old. John Potter, parent, Columbia Public School District. You heard the comments there from Todd Fuller. He says, I think communications is already existing on a good level. Let's just talk your experience, Columbia Public School District. Do you agree with those comments?
No, I do not. I think he's full of it, actually. An example of the district not being transparent and parents actually going to their teachers in order to get transparency. Me and my wife actually did this in regards to a fourth grade puberty unit videos that we came across that the district was showing in local elementary schools that were really inappropriate. So we called our teacher to ask them if these videos were going to be shown in our fourth graders class. And they were initially, and then the district changed their the way they went about the videos kind of behind the scenes once the public became aware of what they were actually showing students. And so the teachers were really left in the dark because they made a change pretty much overnight where the district was giving them fourth grade puberty unit lessons to each school, elementary school, and then overnight they pretty much said, the teachers, you have to deal with it. So they're not giving the teachers the information they need to pass on to the parents, and also what the teachers do know, they've changed overnight in regards to this situation.
Well, that's to my point. So I've complained about communications. I've had people in the world of media way higher up the chain than myself look at some of the communications with the Columbia Public School District specifically, and they're like, yeah, they're trying to talk circles around people and some of our personal dealings. And I feel bad for teachers because all teachers are getting lumped in as they're all evil teachers, and we have some outstanding teachers in Cole and Callaway County and Boone County and in the Columbia Public School District. We really do. But I'm starting to see this, at least I'm seeing teachers that are kind of almost quietly showing up at some of these events and saying, hey, Branden, not just has communication been poor with you and poor with parents, the communication skills from the higher ups down to the teachers, it's not good. So this is not just about communications. This is not about parents not getting the answers that they want. John, this goes beyond a parent that's interested in their kids.
Yeah, it's the teachers, too. They're the ones not being given the correct information to pass on to the parents.
I've heard that too. Parent John Potter has some kids in the Columbia Public School District. By the way, this guy, John Potter, I got to tell you, man, what a cool story you are. And I've told you this before. I think it's just remarkable because when I joke a little bit, I don't mean it in a dismissive way, but when I first met you, when we first started kind of paying attention to the same things, you were just kind of a quiet, reserved father. And I remember one of your first presentations and you holding all your notes, but you were so passionate about this. It was that important to you. And now you're doing stuff in what are you doing in Jefferson City to help parents?
Giving them, just making them familiar with the Capitol, setting up appointments and times with their representatives, and just making sure they can find the offices and that they become more familiar with the Capitol so we can hear more testimony and personal experiences when it comes to education.
And that's important. Again, getting involved. People say, well, go to Jeff City and go talk to your representative. That can be a daunting task sometimes for somebody because not everybody goes to the Capitol on a regular basis like us. And it's like it can be daunting. And don't laugh. That's for real. And the fact that you're going and just taking parents, hey, here's where you come in. Here's where you find the offices. Here's where, by the way, you can go and sit in on most of the things that happen in the Senate. You can go in and sit in as a Missouri citizen. You can go in and sit in and watch what happens in the House. And sometimes it's as simple as that, getting involved, helping other parents to just navigate their way through the Capitol. John, kudos on you. I hope that you are a shining example for other folks that are thinking, man, what can I do? How can I get involved? Your story to me, sincerely remarkable. Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No, just to keep parents involved. We have an election coming up. Vote for Adam and Andrea if you want to get more transparency and accountability at CPS.
That's who I would vote for. And thank you, John. Andrea Lisenby and Adam Burke's mayoral race course. Randy Minshew. And listen, this municipal election. And the Boone County Clerk's office is going to be open, as I understand it. I was texting with Brianna Lennon, Boone County Clerk. Is going to be open Saturday if you're doing absentee balloting. If there's anything that I can do to help you navigate some of that, please call Hannah, and she will give you all the details on what you would need to do. Coming up, man, I don't know if you heard what happened at the Cardinals spring training game yesterday. They scored like 117 runs. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I know it's a spring training game, but they scored like 28 runs. Albert Pujols, his first at-bat with the Cardinals after coming back after a long time being gone. What he did in his first at-bat, that's coming up at 7:25-ish, along with What's Hot with Hannah today.
It is another national holiday revolving around potatoes.
All right.
And our friend Shags from our sister station is trying to start drama on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page. Of course.
Everyone else takes it too seriously. Thank God you get it. This is Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert, 93.9 The Eagle.
20 further proceedings are postponed.
Jesus Christ, these people.
For what?
Jesus Christ, these people. Representative Peter, sounds like he's having a bad day, doesn't it?
Little bit.
That was in the U.S. House of Representatives yesterday. Things weren't going his way. He had somebody with a different mindset saying, hey, why don't we do it this way? And
Jesus Christ, these people.
Jesus Christ, these people. How dare they have a different thought than myself? That happened in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's
still 7:28.
Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Today is National Tater Day.
Sweet. Love taters.
And I wanted to celebrate potatoes because they are one of the most diverse foods that I can think of.
What I love, the carbs.
Yes. So I posted on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page, what is your favorite way to eat a potato? My personal favorite is French fries. I love French fries. Do you have one?
I don't know why. And people always wig out.
No.
I'm partial to tater tots over French fries. I don't know why.
Tater tots are good if you can get them crispy.
Yeah.
If they're not crispy, they're not good.
And you ever heard of Idaho nachos? It's like waffle fries loaded with stuff you'd put on nachos called Idaho fries.
A couple members of the Wake Up Columbia family, though, they got me. They said vodka. I didn't even think about vodka.
And so we are going to nominate some members of the Wake Up Columbia family. Some of our texters and Facebookers will nominate you for Winners of the Week tomorrow, which we do every Feel Good Friday at 8:35. Coming up, there's an event you can get involved in. And what's with this weather? It was warm last week, maybe a little bit of snow this morning. We're going to find out with Tony Lupo. He's like a climate Scientologist from Mizzou, real smart dude. Spoiler alert, this weird weather, it's because it's spring. It's mid-Missouri, springtime. Right now I have your ABC 17 storm track forecast. Maybe some scattered rain or snow this morning. Doesn't look like anything that's going to inconvenience you today. Cloudy, high 39. Tonight, gradual clearing, so it means it's going to be kind of cold overnight. Low down to 22. Feel good Friday, tomorrow. Sunshine, high 56. A little bit warmer on Saturday, high 61. With warmer weather, pests get active in Missouri. Two types of structures, ones that have pests, ones that will. Call Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The Russian military agrees to a limited ceasefire around Mariupol, Ukraine, to get supplies in and people out. There's been heavy shelling in areas where the Russians had said they'd be backing off. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg.
We need to judge Russia on their actions, not on their words, and it remains to be seen whether there is any real willingness from the Russian side to find a political solution.
British intelligence says some Russian soldiers are sabotaging equipment and refusing to follow orders. Chris Rock in Boston at his first show since getting slapped by Will Smith at the Oscars Sunday. Fans there say he didn't get into it much.
He just talked about how he had a lot of things going on over the weekend, but other than that, he didn't mention Will Smith. He didn't talk about the slap.
He actually said it was a little bit too fresh and too new, and so he needs time to think about it, get through it.
The Academy in a statement says Will Smith was asked to leave the ceremony after the slap, but refused. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 7:31. We do have 36 degrees. Partly cloudy skies right now in Columbia. Our sunrise this morning, 6:56. It will set. It's 7:32 this evening. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you on this Thursday morning, March 31st, 2022. The Missouri Senate has rejected a request from the House to go to a conference committee to further negotiate on a congressional redistricting map. The House will gavel in this morning at 10. They'll decide what to do next. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia it's not too late to go to a conference committee.
Right now, our local election authorities are working on those April elections, so they wouldn't really be able to input changes in the map right now. We locked down our system changes can't be made right next to an election so that we're not creating problems for a current election that we have.
Now, Missouri is the only state in the nation where a new U.S. House map has not been enacted or approved by state lawmakers. The House voting this week 115-19 to send the issue to a conference committee. Hallsville State Representative Cherie Tolson-Reich wants Boone County to stay in the 4th District. The Senate map moves Boone, Cooper, and Montauk counties to the 3rd District. Meantime, the votes continue. Absentee voting continues today and tomorrow at the Boone County Clerk's Office for the municipal election here in Boone County. If you'd like to vote absentee, the Boone County Clerk, Brianna Lennon's office, will be open as well coming up on Saturday from 9 until 1, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday if you'd like to vote absentee on Saturday. At least 4 of the GOP candidates seeking West Central Missouri's 4th congressional district seat will be attending Boone County Lincoln Days next week. The 4 Ashland representatives, Sarah Walsh, Senator Rick Bratton, former Boone County Clerk Taylor Burks, Bill Irwin as well. Next Friday's event, 5:30, Courtyard by Marriott, Columbia's Lamone Industrial Drive. Our news is brought to you this hour by the folks at the Candy Factory in downtown Columbia, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:33. Turning our attention now to sports. Mizzou has been able to get 2 baseball games in 2 consecutive nights. One in Sauget last night. They were back here in mid-Missouri in Columbia, and they were able to get it in despite not exactly great weather conditions, lots of water out there in the grass, etc. But Mizzou gets their game in. They beat SIEU, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, 12-2. 16 walks for Mizzou in this game as they win, coming off the win the other night against Illinois as well in Sauget. Our sports is brought to you by Betts Jewelers. For gifts that last a lifetime, you can visit Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. And our traffic check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or post your job opening today. As Branden and I have mentioned all day, you can expect delays today and next Monday and Tuesday. Stadium Boulevard here in Columbia, near the Columbia Mall, weather permitting, then should be all right today. The crews will be repairing a concrete island on Stadium from about 9 to 3. Give you an idea where it is. The Drury Inn is in that location. There's also a Wendy's in that location, and Culver's is up there as well, the old Ruby Tuesday location. That's where that island is. Needs a lot of work. They'll be out there 3 days working on that. It will be tying up traffic. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The state's transition will become effective on Friday, April the 1st.
All right, Governor, that scares me a little bit. Governor Mike Parson telling us yesterday, he said, listen, this emergency response, the way the state handles this as it relates to the, we're scaling back on it.
We hadn't done that already?
Not really. Not officially.
Right, not officially, but I'm with Hannah. I'm like, oh, yeah, I didn't know we were still doing that thing. But I'll tell you why, because Governor Parson handled this appropriately. I can't tell you the number of times people say, how come Governor Parson won't lift these mask mandates? He never instituted anything on a statewide level. He never did that. It was local entities that did that. But it does scare me that he says these are going to expire tomorrow. And guess what tomorrow is? April Fool's Day.
Right.
And I'm wondering, is the governor of Missouri, is he pranking us, man? But I will say this, and we need to work on a fact check here. I think that Governor Parson did this to honor Wake Up Columbia. He did it to honor Brian Hauswirth and Hannah, the producer, and Stephanie Bell, who's off today. He did it to honor what we do on Feel Good Fridays. He knows we do Feel Good Fridays, and he said, hey, on a Feel Good Friday, let's do away. Basically, it has to do with the scoreboard on their website.
I don't think we need to run a fact check on that because I don't want to know the truth.
By the way, Stephanie Browning, she was on KOMU yesterday with Emily Spain. Mm-hmm. And she does solid work. She does a feature called MVP, Emily, E-M, MVP. It's a great feature. She highlights local people doing cool things. I love she does that. She was talking to Stephanie Browning yesterday. She's the health czar in Boone County. And a couple of things, I was stunned when she said, she was asked, Stephanie Browning was, hey, do you think the pandemic is over?
Well, I think that is probably a decision everyone will make for themselves.
What a beautiful statement. If that had been 2 years ago, if there was that same mindset, instead of clamping down on these businesses, if she'd said that 2 years ago, we're going to let you decide. As a business, you get to decide what you want to do. And as an individual, an American here in Boone County, you can do what you want to do, and you're going to assume those risks. You'll assume those risks just like you do with anything else in life. Wouldn't that have been beautiful if she had said that a couple of years ago? But this did break my heart. And I got to tell you, a quick aside here, something kind of personal. I don't know. It was about a year and a half ago. As a matter of fact, I've shared the story with Hannah before, because rightfully so. It was BS, and the officials, well, the pandemic has caused this. The pandemic caused more people to be violent against cops. That's all complete and utter bull. It wasn't the pandemic that did it. It was it's what your local servants did. It wasn't COVID. It was how they handled it and taking away some of your freedoms. We all know, listen, whatever I do, I have an inherent risk in anything I do, and they didn't give us the opportunity to be Americans. But this did break my heart. Last year, I was going into a city council meeting, and if you've ever been into City Hall, you go through those round glass doors. Oh, yeah. And I hate to admit it, but I feel like I got to be honest here.
Yeah, so as the story as you tell it is that you went in, you entered the revolving glass door, saw Stephanie Browning, and did a couple laps through the glass door. You just went right back on out.
I just kept going because I know she was facing a hard time from some of the news outlets, or at least
and from you.
Yeah, and from our audience, and it's difficult because, I see these people in town, by the way, and I spend money, and they're local folks. They spend money, too, and that's a challenge sometimes. But John Glasscock, former city manager, was in here one day, and I didn't know he was going to be in here. He was chatting with Fred Perry, who does the Columbia Roundtable on Saturdays.
Yes.
And I saw John Glasscock, and I was kind of surprised, and I kind of pulled him aside, and I asked him, I said, hey, listen, I don't agree with all the stuff that y'all been the elected servants. I don't agree with what they've been doing. Remember, John Glasscock, city manager, not elected. But I asked him, I'm like, hey, man, how's Stephanie doing? Because I do realize this. She is a human being. It's easy to criticize and all that. It's easy to criticize Joe Biden for somebody waking him up finally yesterday and going, hey, Joe, have you seen the gas prices? And he's going, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe I could do something. It's easy to do that, but when you do what we do here on Wake Up Columbia, local stuff, real local things, and then trying to explain what this means and how it affects you, you take chances sometimes, and then sometimes you encounter these people in public, and I'll tell you from experience, it's not always really good, and so that's a challenge sometimes. Let's move forward. Brian Hauswirth, you see what the Cardinals did yesterday?
I did not see their
28. I know it's spring training, but 28 runs. Albert Pujols, his first at bat. What did he do yesterday? This is great. We're going to go back down memory lane coming up about 7:55. There's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
My name is Branden Rathert, and I probably should have asked before we got on air, but I'm forgetting this stuff. My dad's coming to town today. Are you guys cool? Because, it's democracy here on the show. Everybody gets an equal say. Hannah gets 25%, Brian gets 25%, Stephanie gets 25%, and I get 51% say in what happens here on this show. By the way, you got to be watching on YouTube right now to see what Hannah just did. You get behind the scenes stuff whenever you watch. Pretty cool.
I don't know. I feel like I should get more than 25%, considering I could just turn your mic off at any point and you're done.
This is a true story. You know how many people I run into out in public, and they say, "Yeah, that Hannah keeps you in line." And
I don't do a very good job.
Oh, you do? Can you imagine if Hannah wasn't my conscience? Man, I probably wouldn't even be here anymore. Stephanie Bell has the day off. I almost said Stephanie Browning has the day off. Stephanie Bell has the day off. My name is Branden Rathert. If there is something that I can do for you, please let us know. 874-9390, 874-9390. Wanted to bring in Tony Lupo, and I always get your exact title messed up because I'm just a regular Joe Schmo. I don't know everything. What's your exact title at Mizzou, Tony?
Well, I am a professor of atmospheric science.
Okay, so you deal with weather and climate and all that. I want to ask you, so, as I follow our ABC 17 Storm Track forecast, and Brian Hauswirth does excellent work keeping up with what the National Weather Service out of St. Louis and Kansas City is doing and how it affects us. And I'm stunned. So last week we've got temps in the 70s, even going well above 70 in sunshine. And then yesterday, just rain all day and was affecting people's moods. And this morning, maybe a bit of snow or two prior to like lunchtime today, and all these bizarre things are happening, and there's flood warnings for parts of Missouri. And I gotta ask, what's happening with the weather?
3 words. It is spring.
All right. Thank you. That's all we need. Let's move forward. Tony, also very involved in the community when it comes to other folks getting involved. We have a huge event. It's the Boone County Lincoln Days. This is also coming up. I love that you guys are doing this on a Feel Good Friday, coming up next Friday, April 8th. I think it's a great opportunity, folks, to attend this, especially. And if you've never done anything like this before, I hope that you go and get tickets and that you go to this just to see what it's like, because you're getting involved. You're hanging out with a whole bunch of other smart people that exude common sense, and we're not seeing that everywhere anymore. But you will see it next Friday, April the 8th. In your mind, what's one or two of the highlights that's going to be happening at the Boone County Lincoln Days?
Well, the highlights this year are that you're the MC. No, just kidding.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you for sure. But the highlights are that there's going to be more candidates than we've had in many years come and tell us about themselves and tell us about their ideas. It's almost like a shopping. You can come and pick your flavor of Republican next week.
And I love that. And that's why you should go and attend this. And I'm not sure that I know of, and I'll ask you, but I think so far in this campaign season, I think a first, I could be wrong, but the first being we're going to have several congressional candidates, Rick Bratton, Taylor Burks, Bill Irwin, and Sarah Walsh, all in the same room that Friday night. Do you know, have they ever all been together yet?
I'm not aware that they have. I don't think the 4th District has done a debate style thing or a panel. So we'll have them all together.
Yeah, and so just wait. No, it's not a debate or anything next Friday night. It's just a bunch of candidates are going to be there. Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler is going to be there. And if you have not had a chance to meet Mark McCloskey in person, who's running for Senate, and by the way, he's given it heck. He is everywhere. Yes. It's not helping him in the polls, but he is everywhere. He is going to be there next Friday too.
Thank you so much, Branden. Mr. Lupo, we appreciate your time, and I echo Branden's sentiments, by the way, on your weather help, because anytime I'm doing weather, whether it's snow or thunderstorms or whatever, you've always been helpful, and I appreciate that. I do want to ask about the auditor's race, because there's been a lot of media focus, and rightfully so, on the Senate race and in the congressional. But for folks who really watch state government, they understand that auditor position, whoever it is, whether it's Nicole Galloway or whether it's Tom Schweik, Claire McCaskill, you could go all the way back to Margaret Kelly. That is as important of a position in state government as there is. And you guys are going to have Scott Fitzpatrick, the incumbent, and David Gregory together. Two young guys, two rising stars, if you will, in the Republican Party. Your thoughts on that? I'm fascinated that they're both going to be there, because I've not seen them together, at least at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're going to have both of them together, because we invite as many candidates as we can, and not all of them always respond. And so I feel like we're very fortunate that we're going to have both of them there. I'm not sure what they're going to say, but I imagine that they'll talk about the importance of that position and why they're the right person to do that job.
And I think I think the big newsmaker last year was Caleb Rowden. I remember on stage more than once saying, listen, education is going to be the big issue. So that was a year ago, and man, he nailed it. It has become a huge issue, not just locally, but obviously nationwide. Chuck Basey, Cherie Tolson Reich is going to be there, U.S. Senate candidates, and county commissioner candidate Connie Leopard, state representative candidates John Martin, Jim Musgraves, both really, really good, solid human beings, and definitely solid candidates in a race. Great dinner Friday night, and again, another opportunity for folks to get involved and talk to these people, these Senate candidates. You can go and talk to these people in person. You don't have to rely on what we say on the show about them. You don't have to rely on our interviews. You can go and personally talk to people like Hartzler and Mark McCloskey. How do we get tickets, Tony?
Well, you can go to the Boone County Republicans website, and you can click on a link there. And I believe we also have it on our Facebook. And I thought that you all mentioned that it was on the Eagles Facebook, isn't it?
Yep. Hannah's put it on the Eagles Facebook page, and it's on our website at 939theeagle.com.
No, it is posted on the Wake Up Columbia Facebook page.
Okay. So, yeah, it's in several places. So there's many opportunities to click on that link and buy your tickets. And just to echo what Branden was saying, you can talk to these people, and since the seating is open, you might actually get to sit with some of your favorite candidates and bend their ear for a while. It's a great time to talk to them.
It really is, and I believe you have that. You have a right to talk to these people that you're thinking about voting for. And I'm hoping to get a whole bunch of first timers that have never done anything like this before. That's what I'm hoping. So you can go and get tickets. We prefer that we get everything booked by tomorrow.
Yes, that's for food purposes, so that we have enough meals. But we will ask for more just in case there are folks who want to get in late.
Tony Lupo, Boone County Lincoln Days, next Feel Good Friday. We'll get you tickets, and Hannah and I will be there, so we'll be looking forward to seeing you there. Tony, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for what you guys are doing here in town.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you guys for what you do in town here as well. We all contribute. We're all a team, and hopefully we're all on the same team in wanting to make Columbia a better place.
There'll be a whole bunch of smart people there with common sense. We don't see that in a lot of places locally. By the way, so this local stuff, this Senate race, I'm telling you, a lot of these national news outlets, and I think the Oscars, their decision yesterday to say, yeah, we're going to look into this Will Smith thing. It's political. They realize that, and I hate to say, the tide is turning, changes are coming. But when I hear people like Chuck Todd on MSNBC talking about the hopes of Democrats in the midterms of 2022, and he's using words like shellacking.
So you see, that's also in shellacking territory.
Shellacking territory. Chuck Todd, MSNBC. There is a reckoning, I believe, and maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. But that's what I'm seeing. Coming up here at 7:54, Albert Pujols, first game, spring training.
Download the 93.9 The Eagle app and listen to Wake Up Columbia everywhere. It's easy to do. Geez, even Branden figured it out. 93.9 The Eagle.
Such an amazing moment again for Pujols. And that is driven out to deep left field. That is out of here. Big fly for Albert Pujols.
That was a feel-good Friday, June 21st, 2019. Albert Pujols' first time back in St. Louis after he left the Cardinals following the 2011 World Series victory. Of course, went to the Angels. And then in 2019, man, it was a feel-good Friday night. He comes back and homers. And the best part was not just that he homered, but the standing ovation, his first time at bat. Yadier Molina walking away from the plate to let Albert have his moment when like 45,000 fans were screaming for this Missouri sports legend. Guy who went to school in the Kansas City area, played ball there, grew up in the Cardinals organization. And that moment, that night, and then he hits the home run and that standing ovation that I remember ESPN featuring almost the entire video because it was like 5 or 6 minutes long. Beautiful. And I'm getting in my feels about it. I listen to that, man. I still get chills. And I do because and I get it. Albert Pujols, he's, old for a ball player and towards the end of his career, but those memories that he brings back to Missouri and those memories that he brings back to Cardinals baseball here on 93.9 The Eagle. I just thought it was so cool. As a matter of fact, text from Eric earlier this morning. Really nice text. He says, I want to be honest with you. I haven't listened to your guys' show for a while. Not because of you guys, but because of the baseball strike. Tired of hearing about COVID. And he says, I'm excited. Cardinals going to be playing baseball again. And he says, seriously, more power to you and Hannah and Stephanie and Brian. I don't know how you guys live the news every day without losing your minds. Well, there is that. Good morning. It's 7:58.
What will Jared Kushner say? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Former President Trump's son-in-law and ex-White House senior advisor will talk today in a video call with a Democrat-led committee investigating last year's Capitol riot. Republicans have called that pro-political. There's also a criminal one. Fox's Tanya J. Powers has a live update.
Dave, the Justice Department's criminal investigation into the attack on the U.S. Capitol in January 2021 is reportedly looking into the rally preparations that preceded the riot. That's according to the New York Times. It says over the past 2 months, a federal grand jury in Washington, D.C. has issued subpoenas to some people close to former President Trump who helped with with carrying out his rally on January 6th, as well as its planning and funding. Published reports say the DOJ is trying to determine the full extent of conspiracies to stop Congress from certifying Joe Biden as the winner of the 2020 election. Dave.
Now, Tanya, in Ukraine, they continue to battle day 36 of the invasion.
Russia promising to pull back from the north near the capital. Still, we have seen attacks in Chernihiv and continuing shelling in Kyiv, where Russian troops are holding on to their front line.
Fox's Alex Hogan in Lviv. Today, President Biden will focus on trying to lower gas prices. He's considering releasing a lot more oil from the strategic reserve. We got news this morning. Unemployment claims rose last week slightly up to 202,000. Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee are being fined by a combined $100,000+ by the Federal Election Commission related to that infamous Steele dossier used as part of the basis for the Trump campaign Russia collusion investigation. Chris Rock got back on stage in Boston last night.
With the audience, it was awesome.
I thought he did a really good job.
But those fans at his comedy show did not hear any jokes about the Oscars. Chris Rock only briefly told them at the start he's still kind of processing what happened when Will Smith slapped him Sunday night. America's listening to Fox News.
Economists are warning that sanctions against Russia could cause unintended damage in America, triggering devastating inflation. As gas prices skyrocket, prices for everything could surge even higher, making the current 40-year record inflation look mild. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon, and I urge you to take immediate action to protect your savings by opening a physical gold IRA with my friends at Birch Gold. I'm a Birch Gold customer myself, and they have my highest recommendation. Just text the word PROTECT to 989898, and they'll send you a free info kit on how to get started. In my opinion, gold IRAs are one of the best ways to protect your savings no matter what happens in America or around the world. And the best company to work with is Birch Gold. So text the word PROTECT to 989898 to get everything you need to know about protecting your savings with gold.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:03:36 right now. Our current temperature, our high today will only reach around 39 degrees. It is at least clear. There's no precipitation coming down. But again, it's going to stay cold today, and there are flurries falling in parts of mid-Missouri right now. Good morning, everyone, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you in this 8 o'clock hour. Missouri's governor says the COVID crisis is over in the Show-Me State. Governor Mike Parson speaking to Capitol reporters in Jefferson City.
The vast majority of Missourians have received protection from the virus either through vaccination or past infection. Thanks to our balanced approach and common sense, we believe the need for COVID-19 crisis response has come to an end.
It's Governor Mike Parson at the State House in Jefferson City telling Capitol reporters vaccines, testing, resources, and treatments are now readily available for all Missourians. He says the endemic phase means surveillance priority will change from monitoring case numbers to monitoring the disease severity. The State Department of Health says 3.9 million Missourians have now initiated COVID vaccination. It's about 64%. Meantime, the Senate and the House are still in an impasse this morning over congressional redistricting. There's no guarantee anything will happen today before lawmakers leave leave Jefferson City a little bit later today. The Senate has rejected the House's request to send the issue to a conference committee for further negotiations to redraw the map. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft tells Wake Up Columbia the federal government is partly to blame. He says they should have provided the census numbers by December of 2020, but those numbers didn't come in until September 2021.
And anyone that looks at this process and doesn't realize that we were put on the wrong foot at the very beginning by the federal government's failure to do what they're supposed to do is not being fair.
Now, the Senate map moves most of Boone and all of Cooper and Montauk counties to east central Missouri's 3rd congressional district. That is one of the big hangups, and it's not just Republicans. Some Democrats don't like that as well. Both parties not happy about the 2nd congressional district going from Baldwin to southeast Missouri. Those appear to be the two major issues in the General Assembly. Hallsville State Representative Cherie Tolson Susan Reich says Boone County should not be divided. She says it should stay in West Central Missouri's 4th District. House will gavel in here in an hour and 55 minutes. Both Republican auditor candidates have confirmed to speak at next Friday's Boone County Lincoln Days here in Columbia. They are incumbent Scott Fitzpatrick and State Representative David Gregory of St. Louis County. U.S. Senate candidates Congresswoman Vicky Hartzler will attend along with Mark McCloskey and Dave Sims. Those are the confirmed people that are going to be speaking right now. There may be others that are added later. Next Friday's program begins at 6:30. It'll be at the Courtyard by Marriott. And a traffic note once again. You can expect delays today and next Monday and Tuesday. Stadium Boulevard near the Columbia Mall. The Department of Transportation MoDOT says crews will be repairing a concrete island on Stadium today. They'll start their work about 9 o'clock this morning. Looking outside, they should be able to get underway. Signs are in place to help guide you through the work zone. The workers should be there on scene by about 8:30 setting up. You're being urged to slow down for the crews who will be working today. All day again, not tomorrow, but back again after today on Monday and Tuesday. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you live in this 8 o'clock hour by the Callaway Bank. They're with you for the moments that matter. It's the Callaway Bank. 93.9 The Eagle News time, 8:06. Turning our attention right now to sports. The Mizzou Tigers, pretty impressive win yesterday, 12-2 over Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. St. Louis Cardinals, we'll get to them in a moment. Mizzou had 12 walks in the game. Very impressive. Big win as well for the St. Louis Cardinals, as Branden talked about, scoring 20-plus runs in their spring training game against the Washington Nationals. And if you go to the Cardinals website, cardinals.com, they are still taking voting right now. It'll end here in a couple of weeks, but you can vote on who you think belongs in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. We've been reminding folks every week, once a week, just to remind people, but 5 big candidates on it in no particular order. I'm going to read them off the ballot right now as it appears on the Cardinals website. Steve Lefty Carlton, George Hendrick, known as Silent George, Matt Holliday, Matt Morris, and the 5th candidate is Edgar Renteria. Again, you can vote until April the 15th. That's when it ends. Cardinals.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:07. Kevin, thanks so much. Right now, we do have cloudy skies, 36. And our traffic check is brought to you by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Roads right now have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri, and if we're missing something, certainly let us know. You can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. We always appreciate the great texts we get from listeners. Today's been pretty quiet. Worth mentioning one more time quickly that there will be work going on out on Stadium Boulevard near the Columbia Mall, 9 to 3. They're working on a concrete island, MoDOT will be, that needs repairs. Quite a bit of repairs, I'm being told, that need to take place on this particular island, which is near the Wendy's location near Columbia Mall. All that coming up today. We'll have another report coming your way at the bottom of the hour. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The new phase means that universal contact tracing and individual case investigations will be discontinued, and that we will base response and mitigation strategies on regional and community level trends.
Governor Parson yesterday in Jefferson City telling us, hey, I didn't know we were still in that emergency response mode. I would venture to guess most people didn't. But basically, this, in my mind, this is not affecting you. Heading to work at 8:10 here with Wake Up Columbia. There's really nothing that's getting in your way here. Basically, We're just doing away with the scoreboard. Like when you go watch the Blues play in St. Louis and they have the big scoreboard there at center ice and you watch the score and we're getting rid of the scoreboard. That's about it. There's Brian Hauswirth. He was in Jefferson City yesterday. Want to get maybe some insight at 8:35 what's happening in the hallways. Sure. There's Hannah, the producer.
What up?
Hannah, Stephanie has the day off. My name is Branden Rathert. Look at that. Randy Tobler's popped into the studio. Hey, I want to ask your opinion on this. I value your opinion on this. And by the way, great show in the afternoons, 4 to 6 here on 93.9 The Eagle. This thing with Will Smith and the Oscars, and I might be digging way deep down in the what if barrel, Randy. But I think what the Oscars are doing after, in effect, public backlash, I think is part of an overall bigger political thing, like the country, whether it's MSNBC and CNN or, the Hollywood elite, that phrase we like to use, the Hollywood uber progressive elite liberals. I almost think this is part of like a course correction. Like people are stepping back. They're looking at disapproval numbers for Joe Biden. They're looking at how much they're paying for gasoline. They're looking at things that are happening at Disney. They're looking at how much they're having to pay for a thing of cherub tomatoes at Walmart. And they're going, all of this and that mindset, that far left mindset, this is crazy. Am I crazy to think that the Oscars, that's part of, they're going like, hey, this is a course correction on a bigger social scale? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's a bigger part of an overall bigger move. Like we're looking at everything and going, man, what the heck are we doing? It's like America got drunk, like way too drunk, woke up the next morning and rubbed her eyes and said, what the heck are we doing? And this is not just on the social issues, but MSNBC, it seems like on a regular basis, we're highlighting people on MSNBC, people like Chuck Todd. He's calling what it looks like. He's looking at numbers throughout history, who's in control in the White House, comparing their approval ratings to what happens in midterms. He's using phrases like shellacking.
So you see, that's also in shellacking territory.
Shellacking territory, MSNBC, CBS, they came under fire because they hired former Donald Trump Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. And apparently the word out of CBS and the word out of folks in the know in the media is CBS, like they're starting to load up on conservative talking heads because CBS, they know what's coming in the midterms. And I wonder, does that translate locally? For example, I'm looking at the Columbia mayoral race. Now, there's a lot of things I've disagreed with about with our current mayor, Brian Treese. But he's done the best job that he can do. And I know our local race has no political affiliations. But I'm wondering, is that if you and I are accurate in that there's a course correction to more American values, I wonder how that plays out in Columbia, because I'll tell you this, Randy, people are listening to your show in the afternoons at 4 o'clock. They listen here and they go, oh, Rathert says he's voting for Minshew for mayor. He's voting for conservatives Andrea Lisenby and Adam Burks on the school board. And in the third ward, he would vote for Roy Lovelady just because Carl Scala needs to go. There are people that listen to our shows and they say, okay, what Randy and Branden are saying, we're going to vote the opposite, because you got to remember, this is liberal Boone County. Hmm. And by the way, yeah. And to your point, we also have to pay attention to what's happening in the U.S. House of Representatives, because the Republicans recently lost 2 members. The guy, I think it was in Nebraska, he committed campaign fraud. He resigned. You had the representative out of Alaska who died less than 2 weeks ago. So now we're short 2 more. Randy Tobler, do yourself a favor. Check out the Randy Tobler Show. He's here today, 4 o'clock on 93.9 The Eagle.
Branden, thanks so much. Randy, great to hear your voice, and we appreciate you joining us. It's always a pleasure to join you on your show. I do want to ask about the governor's announcement yesterday that's getting a lot of press. Basically, the governor announced that the COVID crisis is over in the show me state. But you're a doctor, so this is something the governor said, and interpret this. This is not really a political statement. It's more of a medical statement. He said that Randy, he said the endemic phase means surveillance priority will change from monitoring case numbers to monitoring, disease severity. What do you read into that?
And let me ask you, do you get people, because it turns out, besides being a great communicator, somebody you want to have at your party. As a matter of fact, you hear Randy at your party every weekday 4 to 6 on 93.9 The Eagle. Do you get people all the time? They go, hey, since you're a doctor, will you check this out for me? Do you get that? Okay. All right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And before I let you go, I want to ask you this, and not from a real doctorish standpoint, but I heard about Bruce Willis yesterday, who, by the way, he lives in Sun Valley, Idaho. He has a home in Hollywood. He lives in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I would bump into him all the time. I was bummed to find, so I was bummed to hear that he has aphasia, and I started looking it up, and aphasia affects your memory and some of your motor skills. Am I a hypochondriac at 51? I'm paying more attention to my health, but I got into this WebMD hole yesterday. Is that like the old white guy thing? Oh, I got something. I got to get on WebMD and see what's going on. Is that something just us old dudes do? Randy Tobler, yeah. "15 seconds. You know what you're doing on your show yet this afternoon?"
Wake Up Columbia with Branden Rathert. It's what happens when you let emotionally unbalanced people play in a room full of microphones. 93.9, The Eagle.
There's just not a lot of transparency at the school district level right now. And so this is an effort to, hey, if you're seeing something, send it to our office and really try to empower parents. We've set up a portal for parents to communicate with our office and saying, hey, we saw this at the school.
Attorney General Eric Schmidt and 2022 U.S. Senate candidate talking about this new kind of like a portal where you can go and say, hey, I'm having issues at this school. And we've seen locally poor communication from officials and elected servants on the school board, just at least in one of our local school districts. Now he's saying, hey, statewide, you want to try to get some answers as a parent? I might be able to help you. I think it's a great idea. It's 8:28 time for the Morning Bell Business News with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Is going to do unemployment numbers, but I think this is far more impactful. Talking about gas prices. What's interesting in this story, so Joe apparently today he's going to order the release of up to 1 million barrels of oil per day. I can't wait to hear Gary Nolan's take on this. Gary Nolan's here at 9 o'clock, man. He's got his head around this stuff. He understands this stuff like better. He helps me to understand what's happening when it comes to things like this. But what's more important here, listen, I believe whoever is in charge, regardless of what's going on, you're the president, you got to take credit for the good. You got to take responsibility for the bad. But what have we been hearing from the progressives and the far left? They're saying, well, you know, the president can't control gas prices, and Biden is at fault here because of the way we look on a worldwide stage. That's why Russia went into Ukraine. I fully believe that. But the wording in this story from the Associated Press, quoting here, according to two people familiar with the decision in a bid to control energy prices. We've been told all along the president has no control over it. Now all of a sudden he does. Coming up, downtown landmark. Been there since I was born. It's going away. That's coming up at 8:35.
In Missouri, there are two types of structures, ones that already have pests and ones that will. Steve's 5-star service and pest prevention will protect you 24/7. Go to Steve's Pest Control for peace of mind.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. A measure used to track consumer prices shows the highest annual inflation since 1982.
6.4% year-over-year PCE. Spending up 0.2%. That's a little bit weaker than expected. The core month-over-month coming in at 0.4%.
Cheryl Casoni on Fox Business. New unemployment claims are up 14,000 after last week's 52-year low. Hillary Clinton's 2016 presidential campaign and the Democratic National Committee are fined by the Federal Election Commission for lying about paying for a former British spy's dossier on Donald Trump.
The fine is only $8,000 for the Clinton campaign, but more than $100,000 for the DNC. The commission says both parties mislabeled the money spent on the dossier, claiming it was for legal services. The lawyers took that money and hired researchers Fusion GPS, which bought the dossier from Steele.
That's Fox's Eben Brown. That dossier was published online in 2017. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. It is 8:31 right now. We have cloudy skies, partly cloudy. At least we not are getting any precipitation right now. It's 36 degrees. Our high today over around 39. Finally clearing tonight with the overnight low 28. A little bit warmer tomorrow. Finally the sun again. And a high of 56 degrees. Good morning, everyone. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. The Missouri Senate has rejected a request from the House to go to a conference committee to negotiate further on a congressional redistricting map. The House gaveling in here in about an hour and a half in Jefferson City. They'll decide what to do next. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft tells 93.9 The Eagles Wake Up Columbia it's not too late to go to conference.
Right now, our local election authorities are working on those April elections, so they wouldn't really be able to input changes in an app right now. We lock down our system where changes can't be made right next to an election so that we're not creating problems for a current election that we have.
Missouri is the only state in the nation where a new U.S. House map has not been enacted or approved by state lawmakers. The House voting this week 115-19 to send the issue to a conference committee for further negotiations. Missouri House and Senate again still under the still have a little bit of time left, according to Secretary Ashcroft, because the election for the municipal election is next week. Meantime, at least 4 of the GOP candidates seeking West Central Missouri's 4th congressional district seat will be attending next Friday's Boone County Lincoln Days event. The 4 Ashland State Representative Sarah Walsh, Harrisonville State Senator Rick Branden, former Boone County Clerk Taylor Burks, and Bill Irwin. Also, Congressman Blaine Luetkemeyer will be attending next Friday's event as well. Starts at 5:30, Courtyard by Marriott. That's on Columbia's Lamone Industrial Drive. Secretary Ashcroft, by the way, announcing 506 candidates have filed now for the August primary election. That is statewide. And look for delays today on Stadium Boulevard near Columbia Mall. They're working on an island doing some repairs. Our news brought to you this hour by the folks at Hemi Construction. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:33. In sports, Mizzou beating Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville yesterday by a score of 12-2. 2 nights in a row, Mizzou has played and had to really deal with the weather, not great weather conditions. They were able to get it in. Field obviously wet, grass wet as well, but they were able to get the game in. Mizzou wins it 12-2, 16 walks in that ball game. Our sports is brought to you live this morning by Lacrosse Lumber. They're here in Columbia. They're big enough to have everything a contractor needs, but they're small enough for one-on-one, make it happen now customer service. Lacrosse Lumber on Grindstone, just west of Highway 63 here in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 8:34. And our traffic check is with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job or to post your job opening today. If you're out and about in the area around the Columbia Mall today, you will notice some delays. It's really a heavily traveled area. A lot of folks who come in from Booneville or come in from even the north, but particularly out to the west, Roachport, Booneville, they come in through there. You can expect some delays today from starting about 9, about 25 minutes from now until 3. They're working on the island, a concrete island that needs a lot of work. They'll be doing that all day today as well as Monday and Tuesday. It is near the Wendy's. It is near the Culvers. And MoDOT sent me a picture from their camera, and I put it up on the website, 939theeagle.com. You can actually see where this is. This is very heavily traveled, and you will expect some delays. Probably best to avoid that area if at all possible today. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
He strictly stuck to his jokes. He said he had a story there for a while, so he stuck to his jokes and kept it moving. Not disappointed, but it would have been cool if he did. But if he didn't, it was still a good show.
That was, folks, last night, Boston, Chris Rock's first stand-up comedy show since the Oscars the other night. And since it was announced that the Oscars are looking in to what happened on at the Oscars the other night. And by the Chris Rock, he is truly, we've highlighted a lot of his audio here on the show over the years. He does some I mean, the guy is incredibly funny. His movies, him and the Adam Sandler, those are okay. But his stand-up comedy, man, what I admire about him is he's funny and he's smart, too. I admire anybody who can do that. By the way, you know, everybody's weighing in on this thing. We had Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft on the show yesterday. We asked him about it. I think Cherie Tolson-Reich.
She weighed in on it, sure.
She weighed in on it. So everybody's weighing in on it, including
Randy Tobler even talked about it.
Randy, who hosts the afternoon show, weekdays 4 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle. O.J. Simpson.
I don't understand what there is to review. It happened on camera. Everybody saw it. Both Chris Rock and Will Smith have already issued statements and apologies. So what's there to review? I don't get it.
It's like from a journalistic standpoint, I'm with you, Hannah, because whenever, for example, like when we see somebody who's committed a crime locally and police departments are able to get somebody's ring video footage or very clear, explicit video of what's happening and who's doing it, we still legally have to say they were allegedly seen on, I mean, from a journalistic point of view.
We have to, and people don't understand. You're absolutely right about. I do understand exactly what Hannah's saying. She's absolutely correct. She is, but so are you. And particularly on when we're talking about like a crime or whatever, even if it's committed on tape specifically, I'm not talking so much about the what happened at the Oscars, but if it's a crime, we have to say as a journalist, we're supposed to say prosecutors say, police say, allegedly, because until they're convicted. And I don't know that that's being taught as much, by the way, in journalism schools. I'll hear them on I'm not going to cite names, but I'll hear them such and such killed somebody. Well, we can't really say that. God forbid if that person's acquitted, you don't want to be on record as saying he killed it. Prosecutors say once they're convicted, then we can say it because likely they're going to appeal anyway. But it's just that is a formality, but it's very, very important. And you can never say the word allegedly too much in a newscast to protect yourself.
And here's, people will complain about how the media spins things, but here's specific examples. Headlines, for example, and this was on Fox News yesterday. Headline, Richard Williams. That's the father. That's who Will Smith played.
The tennis, yes.
Who Will Smith won the award for portraying this guy, but the headline on Fox was Richard Williams, and it grabs your attention, thinking Richard Williams has spoken out on, but it was Richard Williams' estranged daughter who was weighing in on the issue. Okay. So that's how, and everybody does it. And I'll point to something that the Associated Press did this morning. This is just my take. I'm Branden Rathert. I'm just a Joe Schmo. That's our journalist, Brian Hauswirth. How are you, bud?
It's great to see you. Appreciate you, sir.
There's Hannah, the producer.
Good morning.
And if you were watching on our YouTube channel, you would have seen Hannah allegedly sticking her tongue down her throat like, over some comments. You would have allegedly seen it on our YouTube channel.
You also may or may not have allegedly seen an address.
Holy cow.
That a certain someone didn't mean to show the world.
I'm showing these postcards that Adam Burks and Andrea Lisenby are sending out, like hand-signed postcards. You may have gotten these at your house. And I'm, look at these. And
while we're talking about gaffes that you've had recently, can I highlight something that happened yesterday?
Yeah.
It's real quick.
All right.
So you were talking about yourself, and
as I like to do a lot.
This is what you said.
It's fun for me, for this old white 55-year-old fuddy-duddy.
You're not 55, dude.
I don't know where I'm getting these ages from. I think I'm like, listen, I've got something in common with, as a matter of fact, I have a new nickname here on the show.
JJ, and sometimes Sleepy JJ.
Like the other day, I never fall asleep at work except when we have these big, very important work meetings. That's the only time I've ever. But I get it like this morning. I was here before 3 o'clock in the morning, and I love it. I never wake up and go, oh, man, it's time to get up and go and play in the sandbox. It's never like that. I get up. I'm excited because I have fun doing this.
And you have a routine?
Yeah, and I couldn't imagine what I would do if I had a job. So I have very early hours, and if I ever have dinner with somebody, I'm like, can we do 4:30 at Denny's? Can we go for the senior citizen special?
Yeah.
But I never fall asleep. I've never fallen asleep at work. I've slept at work 3 times. One was the 2016 election as I waited all night.
And that was intentional.
That was intentional. Brought in a sleeping bag, watched the results until the middle hours, until the wee hours of the morning. And then a very important work meeting last year, we were talking about severe storm coverage.
Yeah, you were actually snoring in that one.
And Hannah, God bless my dear, sweet Hannah. Listen, people are like, well, Hannah keeps you in line. She's your conscience. Thank goodness, Hannah, at this meeting last year, one of probably the most important meetings because we're talking about how we serve, Callaway and Cole and Boone counties and Randolph County should we have severe weather.
It's a good thing they didn't give us a pop quiz at the end of the meeting.
Well, then the other day, we're doing the same thing. It's this big, pretty important thing. And like everybody from our stations, Y107, Clear 99, and Cousin Eddie from our sports talk station, everybody's.
The Wave.
The Wave. I mean, like the Wave, which is one of our radio stations in Lake of the Ozarks, and one of our news talk stations in Jefferson City. Everybody is one of the biggest staff meetings we've had in a long time. Me.
Oh, my gosh. I lost count of how many times I woke you up.
It can happen, though. It can happen.
She had to keep more than once.
There was an empty chair between us that you had your leg on, and I kept, like, jiggling the chair, trying to get you to wake up.
It's hard.
I went and spoke with another Zimmer family member to, like, apologize, saying, hey, I meant no disrespect. I'm just tired. And I said, hey, no disrespect. And he's like, I didn't even notice that you were sleeping.
Well, that's what I was trying to keep people from noticing.
My dear, sweet Hannah. So where was I? So I got something in common with Joe Biden. My new nickname is JJ, Joe Jr.
Or Sleepy JJ.
Sleepy JJ. And, like, I'm kind of wigged out about this Bruce Willis thing with aphasia. I got into this WebMD.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you right there. That's your first mistake. Never go to WebMD and Google your symptoms, because it'll tell you that you're, like, dying when you have a head cold.
I do. And I get on there, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got memory loss, and sometimes I have a hard time talking, and I have this. I'm like, man, I probably have aphasia, too. You ever get on the WebMD?
Not necessarily. I think the bigger thing, I try to go when I have anything that's concerning to the doctor in person. I think that's
See?
I do check.
Yeah.
I do check because you want to. But that WebMD, the problem is the symptoms that they're talking about. They could apply to 30 different things.
Exactly.
Well, one of the things I was looking at yesterday, I'm like, yeah, and it hurts here and it hurts in my midsection. It says I'm pregnant. Pregnant.
Have you missed your period?
Hannah, come on, man. Let's move forward. Where were we? So what was I talking about?
You were talking about the governor, I believe. Was that?
Aphasia, poor memory. So we were talking about examples of the way. I think we got to explain these things better. Not just we as Wake Up Columbia, but conservatives. And I'm big on this. Hannah probably gets tired of hearing me talk about how we message, whether it's somebody, whether it's Tucker Carlson writing a book, or Bill O'Reilly, who's here every morning at 5:55 writing a book. Some of the literature that comes out when it comes to American values, i.e. conservative values, sometimes they talk over people's heads. And so I'm really big on how we simplify this stuff. So here's an example when somebody talks about in the way media portrays things and the way they bend things. Here are some specific examples. So we can give some examples and say, because it's easy to say mainstream media. I don't even like using that phrase because, in my opinion, it's overused. Now we'll talk about national news outlets. But it's things like this. When you're the president, listen, you got to take credit for the good, and you also have to take responsibility for the bad. If you're the person in charge, that's the way it is, in my book. And so what have we been hearing is we've been watching gas prices, especially over the past 30-plus days, now it's since January 2021. He says, well, the president can't control the gas prices. It has nothing to do. It has every bit to do with Joe Biden because of how we look on the worldwide stage. We look poor. Russia took advantage of the situation, went into Ukraine. Gas prices already rising, and we see where they are today. Like $3.89 is... You're doing all right, I think, if you can get $3.89, $3.81 a gallon right now. But here's, and I'm just quoting the Associated Press news outlet, verbatim. According to two people familiar with the decision in a bid to control energy prices. In a bid to control. Now, these news outlets, are the same news outlets that will defend those far-left ideas. They will defend them until the cows come home in Randolph County. We say, no, the president can't control that stuff. He can't. But when it's a good thing, when it benefits the president, the Associated Press saying, yeah, he's going to control energy prices. You can't have it both ways. And I have another example of something that was said yesterday on MSNBC. I'll do that coming up at 8:52, plus some leftovers, big old helping of leftovers coming up here on Wake Up Columbia on 93. AtterburySells.com. Check it out. So I heard from like the first person yesterday. Somebody said, hey, I've been checking out that AtterburySells.com. Is what it is. It's a Atterbury Auction and Realty Company. Obviously, you know what they do, but the way they are doing it, man, they are making it so easy for you. They're featuring different properties. It's online bidding, and they do have open house dates. For example, online bidding on this. This ends Tuesday, April 26th, but let me tell you about this. This is in South Columbia. This is like a log home, and you can see the pictures, by the way. You go to AtterburySells.com, 27-plus acres. It's described as a stunning 4 or 5 bedroom home. It's got all kinds of great stuff, picturesque views. It's one of those things, when you're tired of hearing about gas prices and Will Smith, you go to this farm that you see on AtterburySells.com, and you go and invite some buds over and some of the girls, and you chill for the weekend at this place. Learn more and see some of the other things. You find some really interesting stuff from Atterbury Auction and Realty Company, AtterburySells.com.
This show includes language and/or cultural stereotypes that are inconsistent with today's standards of inclusion and tolerance and may offend some listeners. But not you. You get it. 93.9 The Eagle.
So you see, that's also in shellacking territory. Then let's look at the generic.
That's shellacking territory. That's MSNBC getting honest because they know what's coming. I don't know if you heard us talking about this earlier. CBS hired a former Trump advisor, and they took some flack for it. Well, apparently the reason is they hired Mick Mulvaney. It was former Donald Trump chief of staff for Mr. DJT. CBS hired him, and what are you doing? What are you doing? Apparently, CBS, they're getting prepped for these 2022 midterms in which everybody right now seems to universally, and when I say everybody, I mean politicians, regular folks like us, and even the more progressive news outlets seem to realize it's not going to be good for the Democrats in 2022. And think about how important this is in the House right now, in the U.S. House of Representatives. Republicans have lost 2 members recently. You had the gentleman, I think it was from North Dakota or Nebraska, who resigned because of campaign finance violations, convicted on that. You had, I think it was, Mr. Young from Alaska died a couple weeks ago. So lost 2 more members in the House, and these are important as a whole. So MSNBC, Chuck Todd, who, by the way, he's one of the first really to be on this. He impaneled a panel of regretful Biden voters that were independents. And then the same weekend he did that, and it's fascinating to hear from these people what they're saying. And basically, are you happy with the gas prices? Are you happy with grocery prices? How are you today compared to a year ago? And you can think, well, I got these raises and that stuff is great, still not matching what's happening with inflation. We can simply ask these people that think they support those ideas, say, are you happy with this stuff? Do you like paying $4 a gallon for gasoline? Do you like those kinds of things? Do you like not having good communications with a progressive school board / school district wherever you go to school? Do you like that stuff as a parent? And I think we can ask these simple questions, and if people are being honest with themselves, the answer has to be no. More on how media handles things. White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein, and I hate so much, I don't think we've talked about COVID in months. It's been a long time. For the most part, it doesn't get in our way until today. And even that, it was just Governor Mike Parsons saying, hey, we're getting rid of the scoreboard. Really?
I was about to call you out. I was like, we just talked about it today.
I know. But prior to today, it's just something because it doesn't really get in our way. And this new stuff from Governor Parsons, you say, we're getting rid of the scoreboard, man. We're going to keep posting the stuff on websites so that, like, these national news outlets can go and, oh, my God, look at this. Oh, my gosh. Now it's 1 million people. Now it's 11. Stupid. Also on MSNBC yesterday, White House economic advisor Jared Bernstein talking about various things and getting a pretty solid line of questioning from MSNBC. But I want you to hear the question, and it was Mehdi Hassan who is conducting this interview. Listen to the way the question is formed. And these are specific examples of how these news outlets, how they twist things to portray a narrative. And I just want you to be armed, because it's easy to say, the mainstream media does this, but there are specific examples. You can share this with your friends and coworkers.
Is it not a scandal, Jared, when several hundred Americans are still being killed by COVID?
When several hundred Americans are still being...
Several hundred Americans are still being killed by COVID.
Still being killed by COVID. Like COVID's out to get them, and we see it. You go to Stevens Lake Park or any of these parks, people walking outside and they have a mask on, which it's fine if you want to wear a mask, but I believe it's because they watch these national news outlets and they watch the scoreboard on CNN and MSNBC, and these people believe these things.
Several hundred Americans are still being killed by COVID.
Still being killed like COVID, like this COVID, it's out there looking for you. And I see these people in their cars by themselves wearing the mask, and it's like they're hunched over. It's like, oh my God, I don't want that COVID coming in through my air conditioner or through my heating vents or through the open window. I got to put on a mask because they're afraid, because that's the way the national news outlets, what they do. They try to scare people. Not you. You're smarter than that. My dad he called and said, hey, man, can I come in tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, you want to co-host the show? He said, no, I just want to sit and visit with Gary Nolan a little bit. So my dad is going to be co-hosting tomorrow. And he's getting pretty excited. The Gary Nolan Show's coming up just minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle. By the way, we are nominating winners and losers of the week tomorrow on a Feel Good Friday. See ya.